Radio 2.0, guys. Good evening. Check my audio levels here. I think that's probably good. So, turn that down. I know I can turn that down. And then I can do that to myself. Check that out. I love giving Don Izzo a hard time in the chat. Isn't that just fun? I think that's fun. Because literally, I activated a park every day. No, okay. I shouldn't say every day. Tuesday through Friday, activated a park. Tuesday through Saturday. So 5 days in a row. Tuesday through Saturday, activated a park this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was Galveston Island State Park. Saturday, it was the Lake Fairfield State Park. Why do I look? No. Oh, there it goes. It was Lake Fairfield State Park in Huntsville, Texas State Park, Huntsville State Park in Texas. And 10 meters was wide open all week long. And I had a pipeline to Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Canada, California also going the other way. And all of that and Smoke Signals RF was nowhere to be found. Connecticut, stations galore. No Smoke Signals RF. I don't know. I was disappointed. I was disappointed in that. So we like to tease you, Don, because we love you, buddy. Thanks for being out there tonight. So we're going to talk about POTA tonight. That's why I'm talking about POTA in the chat right now. We're going to talk about POTA tonight. We got Matt in the chat, and I'm not in the chat. We got Matt in the back room, in the waiting room right now. So I'm bring him on here in a minute. So I want to first talk about a couple of things, which some people have emailed me about sticker packs and patches, and those are still on the website, shop.hamradio2.com. You can get swag packs with combo packs of stickers, and that's that patch right there. That's with the Velcro backing. I've got one of those in my truck, and I've got a bunch of other ones around it. So those are big in the overland world, but those are all still there on shop.hamradio2.com. And I will have a bag of these with me when I attend the Greater Houston Ham Fest, which is this coming Friday. So Friday and Saturday next weekend. Frank's going to drive down, I think, Thursday night. KMRD Mike is going to be at the Ham Fest. KR5NPL Scott, Ham Radio for Non-Techies. He's going to be at the Ham Fest. So the four of us are going to meet over there. And we're going out Friday. I don't know. It starts at 2. I don't know how long we'll stay. And then we'll be back on Saturday. So I assume that Scott and Mike are both coming both days. I don't know. Frank and I will be there on Friday for sure. I know that the Scott and Mike will be there on Saturday. I assume they'll be there on Friday, but I don't know that for sure. But that's where we're going. So Greater Houston Ham Fest, first time they've had this since pre-COVID, since 2019. So I'm hoping for a really good show this year. HRO will be there. And as I keep saying, if you want to support your local Ham Fest, go there and buy stuff from the vendors so that the vendors will come back next year and help the Ham Fest grow. So support HRO by supporting the Greater Houston Ham Fest to get HRO to come back next year. And there we go. QSO today is the last weekend in March, I think it is. So they sent me some, they put me on their email list for press releases. So I'm press releases about all the stuff that they're doing. And $15 for a ticket gets you access to all of the presentations that they do. And even if you didn't attend the conference live, you still got those presentations and replays for 30 days. And years past, they have taken those presentations like the following year and put them up on their YouTube channel. So you kind of get them for free a year later. But some really great presentations, several presentations that all happened at the same time, so you can't watch them all anyway. So it's great to have them on that replay. So I put a link to this in the description below the YouTube video. So go check that out. Even if you can't attend or can't attend the whole thing, I still highly suggest going and supporting these guys for what they do. So, okay, so we're going to talk about Parks on the Air today. And in case you guys didn't know, there is a new event. And I'm not going to call it a contest, Matt.
No,
I'm going to let you call it. I'm going to let you call it a contest. or not.
Event.
So,
Event. We're using the word event.
Matt, thanks for being here
Yeah,
tonight,
no worries.
buddy. It's good to finally. So, yeah. So POTA is not a contest. No matter what anybody tells you, there is not a contest.
That is true, and that is not changing.
Right. That's the important thing there. So, all right. So, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself, if you don't mind.
Sure, no worries.
And then you can kind of jump in and tell us what has changed about this new event that we're doing.
I got you. Okay, so somewhere along the line, I missed a meeting and got volunteered for the job of like media coordinator for Parks on the Air organization, which is okay. It's a really great job because I get to do stuff like this and cheerlead and be the face for a bunch of work that hundreds of other people do. So that's all right. Oh gosh, when did I get into POTA? 18, 19, somewhere along there. POTA was basically the reason I got onto HF for real. I started out on HF. Well, I didn't know what I was doing, so I started at the bottom of the solar cycle with a QRP rig with an antenna inside in the attic and went, HF sucks. I'm not doing this. And then POTA came along, and there were actually people out there who were willing to fish my terrible signal out of the mud, right? The activators wanted my QSO. And lo and behold, when you start making contacts, HF starts being fun. Go figure. So that got me starting to sort of look at it. What am I doing here? I got a better antenna, 100-watt rig, whatever. It was sort of off to the races. And then I started making some POTA stuff for my own YouTube channel, which, I don't know, Jason caught notice of or whatever and said, hey, would you be willing to make some training videos for us? That's really how I got on board. I was willing to back burner my own channel stuff and start doing stuff for the POTA channel. So here I am. I'm here talking to you, and I'm going to be at out in Xenia talking POTA. And I was on talking to Izio 2 or 3 weeks ago on the Clubhouse. You can ask him what I said about his taste test of the ketchup potato chips. see how that goes. Yeah. But anyway, that's how I got here. And POTA itself is really the topic. Those of you who've been around for a while know that we have annually had this Plaque event. Well, annually since 2018, anyway, was the first year that we had it. And the idea behind the Plaque event was sort of the same idea as it is behind the Support Your Parks weekends. It's a little more bait, right? To get folks involved, get some more participation, because it's just more fun when there's more people, right? It's kind of like a hot tub. So we came up with this thing, and the plaques weren't actually our idea. The original Plaque sponsors approached Vance, then, who was working with us, and said, hey, we'd like to just buy a couple of plaques and hand them out to the folks who participate in this thing to, again, help drive participation. Well, it turned out to be a good idea. So it grew and it grew and it grew until last year. I meant to pull up the stats, but we had well north of 100,000 QSOs and thousands of people participating. It grew to the point where POTA, the organization, had to take a step back and say, wait a minute, this one event clearly has a life of its own. And so we need to make sure that there are proper boundaries between day-to-day Parks on the Air, POTA, the organization, and how that works on an ongoing basis. And this, once a year time boxed thing that has some actual prizes. So we formed a committee of a bunch of POTA users and said, look, we need to take the good out of what's transpired in the past, take some user feedback we've gotten on some things that potentially could be a little better, and get this published in a way that it is clear that this is not really POTA. This is a thing sponsored by the POTA organization that leans heavily on the POTA rules for how it operates, but it definitively has its own rules, and the event itself is a separate thing sponsored by POTA as opposed to, some third limb or something hanging off the side of the regular POTA body.
Right. So, okay. So to reiterate, and you said this, I just want to reiterate that you said POTA is not changing, of course, but well, maybe you didn't say this because I read this. The Support Your Parks weekend is also not changing.
Correct.
Other than the Plaque event will be during this weekend, this new weekend, but was it April or July Support Your Parks that the Plaque event used to be? I can't remember.
Well, way back in the day, I think it started on April, and the idea was to keep it on the spring thing, and then it got delayed somewhere along the line. Growing pains, right? It slipped to the summer one, and then when we got together as the event committee, part of this needs to be separate from POTA was, if it's going to be separate from POTA, it shouldn't conflict with anything POTA, including the Support Your Parks weekends.
Right.
So we dug out the POTA calendar and we dug out the contest calendar, and we tried to find a weekend where there was nothing going on, which is impossible. And so the first group of feedback that came in was, oh my God, here's all the stuff you conflict with the event.
Oh my God.
Sorry, there's only 50 weekends a year or whatever.
Right.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah. We did the YouTubers Ham Fest on Memorial Day weekend the last 2 or 3 years. And people would complain that why did you pick the CW contest weekend? And I'm like, literally there's a contest every weekend through the whole year. There's no way you can do like the Huntsville Ham Fest in August is on North American QSO Party Sunday or Saturday, something like that. And I'm like, what are you going to do? You either cancel everything and just contest, or you just have to overlap because there's so many contests. So nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, I've never had a lot of interest in contesting. I joined the Long Island CW Club, and they keep telling me that contesting is a great way to build your CW skills. So maybe I'll get into a part of it at some point, but it's like anything else. The thing that you're into sure seems like the most important thing, and everybody else's thing is just a conflict and in the way. And what are you going to do?
That's true.
If anybody can come up with a system whereby we have, 5 days a week of weekend and only have to work Saturday and Sunday, that would help. So get to work on that.
That would help. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that, but oh boy. Yeah. Okay. So we've got the first weekend in June, which is the 3rd and 4th. Is it going to remain the first weekend in June every year upcoming, or have you guys discussed that?
I'm going to say yes, while reserving the right to be wrong.
Okay. All right.
Fine. Predicting the future is always a little sketchy. This being the first year that we're running the Plaque event, using the dedicated weekend, using the separate rules, running it as a separate thing from POTA, hosted by, but not really part of. We kind of expect there to be additional learning that's going to come back. And we had some other ideas about maybe some other categories that we could add, or do we need this rule tweak? Do we need that rule tweak? And we erred on the side of change it as little as possible for the first go around. We'll see based on more feedback from this one. But so far as the date goes, so far so good.
Okay. That's good to know. I just didn't know if I should block off the first weekend in June for the rest of my life. So, because I have last week in June block off the rest of my life for field day, of course. So,
right.
But yeah, one of these days I want to do field day in a park. I haven't done that yet, but that would be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of the changes that will reside during this weekend that are not going to affect that won't translate over to regular 365-day POTA are you've getting rid of the multiple parks,
right?
Would you call them the infers? I think
infers are what they're classically referred to in the docs and the other POTA rules and such things. Okay. And this comes out of that user feedback that I was talking about. It was we gathered sort of through the committee and sent them out to do whatever they do, and a lot of people, I would say the majority of people that we talked to, said, I love the NFERS, in day-to-day POTA. It's if it's your Pokemon analogy, right? It's a shiny or something that you can go and get. It's a great little just nugget, little icing on the cake or whatever. But when it comes to the event, it becomes this unfair advantage for the people that have easy access to them for both QSO totals and park totals. If you live near a 5-fer and you could just go camp in that 5-fer and get 5 parks and 5x the QSOs, you're really unintentionally, I'm sure, you're just trying to do your best and have fun, but you're disincentivizing the people who don't have access to that stuff. So under the banner of trying to make this as fair as possible, when you're starting with already, we've got this problem where different states, different countries, the whole what's a park, how many parks are there, how far away is the nearest park, it's already not really a level playing field, but you do the best you can. So that was the best we could do quickly and easily. Again, we tried to change as little as possible from day-to-day POTA for the event when we separated it. There were some other ideas about minimum travel time between activations or something like that to try and equalize well, I live where I have to drive 3 hours to get to a park and you can get to 7 of them in 10 minutes. That's not fair either, but it proved to be just sort of too complicated to implement. So
okay, makes sense.
For now, the NFers are the only change to what you can activate simultaneously.
Okay.
You can still do, I guess I should say, for those of you who were around in the very, very early days of POTAs, this whole multiple NFer thing wasn't around in the very beginning. It used to be that if you were in a spot that qualified as 2, 3, 4 parks simultaneously, the way you activated that was to light up one, get your 10, 12, 100, however many QSOs you were going to get at that park, go QRT, and then light up the second park. You had to do them serially. You couldn't activate more than one park at a time. That's still an option for the Plaque event, where I guess you could say we've gone old school for the event rules.
Retroactive. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. I wanted to bring that up, and also the work bands, which we have. There was we've activated Galveston Island State Park the last 2 years in a row on New Year's Day, which is cool because you get an award for that. I think it was last year. I think it was on New Year's Day. We've done that park a bunch, but there was one time we went out there and 20 was, like the waterfall on 20 was solid white. And it was because there was a contest going. It was a Saturday. It was because there was a contest going on. So we just simply tuned down to 17 meters, one of the work bands, because we're not doing a contest. We're doing POTA. And we just lit up 17, and we all made 50 to 100 contacts out there on 17 meters.
Yeah.
So it was
the reality is if 20 is open, 17 is probably open.
Probably.
You have to deal with the fact that people haven't wrapped their brain around the fact that 17 is open, and not as many people have an antenna for 17 as they do 20. There's going to be less traffic there. But it is a great band, and I use it for regular old POTA all the time. In fact, I did all of my digital work over this past weekend. We had a club event, took a couple guys out to a cabin, stayed overnight, worked a lot of POTA. I did all my digital work on either 17 or 30. It's a great place to be.
That's excellent. That's really good. Okay.
And 30 is an amazing band. I was working DX almost to midnight on 30 meters. It was crazy. In fact, I was working pretty much only DX on 30. All the local stuff had died. I don't know if everybody went to bed or the propagation did something strange, but it was Europe or bust from Western PA on 30 meters.
That, and see, I did this week on 10 meters. I did the first ever park to park from here to England. I got a golf dash, whatever. Then actually two different parks, two different call signs. Their call signs were Mike 0 call signs, and then two of them were at two different parks that started with golf. And I'm like, that's cool. And that was on 10 meters.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
17 meters, I get South America, all that Cuba, South America,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Caribbean, whatnot. So
they love that band.
yeah,
Yeah, and 10, I know this is a bit of a sidebar, but the more we can encourage people to try out 10, 15, 12, 17, go north, right? Those
right.
bands are open, and the propagation, even if the propagation is only 90% of what it is on 20 meters, your antenna is twice what it is on 20 meters for the
Yeah.
same amount of wire.
Hmm.
More than makes up for it.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
So okay, so David, so I could be wrong on this. Maybe one day we'll get an award for QRP. Is there not a QRP award? I thought there was.
There
I'm
is
wrong.
not, and there is not primarily because we don't have the data to support it. One of the constraining factors that we had when thinking about the event rules was there can't be any changes to what we require people to log, because we're not going to go make changes to the log uploader for this separate thing that's not really POTA. We've got to be able to reuse the tools, and we don't log power today. So there's no way for us to know what you were running.
Right. And Joe's asking whether there be a plaque for hunters. There's lots of plaques for hunters and activators both, so it's not just an activator event.
Yeah, for sure. They're all listed. If you go to docs.pota.app and click on the awards section, they're all in there. The hunters have pretty much, there's 1-for-1 categories with the activators, with the exception of the rover stuff. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense to give out a plaque for having hunted from a whole bunch of locations because hunters aren't submitting logs. How would we know?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So you hunter guys have to rely on make sure they get your call sign correct in the activator log. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, and then in terms of categories, what we have added that's sort of notable for this year is the rookie category. We've got a rookie activator and a rookie hunter, which is defined as, for the hunter, it's your call sign appears in the QSO database as the hunted station within the previous 365 days prior to the event. For the activator, it's your first activation appears in the database within the previous 365 days ahead of the contest. Oop, did I say it? Ahead of the event.
The events.
Right. So the idea here is to let the folks who are newer to POTA, who just don't have the lather, rinse, repeat. They haven't been out and done 100 activations. They haven't hunted to the point where they can hunt CW at 35 words a minute, even though they don't know CW. Not that I know anybody who would do that. Right? It gives them a way to have a shot at a category without having to go up against, if you want to go out and activate, you don't have to go up against Kerry and Bill Brown and the people like Jason and folks who've been out there hundreds and hundreds of times and do this with their eyes closed.
I think I scared Keith yesterday, Frank.
Why?
Because he was sitting there next to me watching me activate, and I said, "Hey, do you want to activate?" And he's like, "No, that's okay."
Yeah, I said the same thing to him. I was like, "Come over."
Yeah, I was going. Really, look at that.
Change the battery pack.
I gotta change the battery pack because this is your fault, Frank, because I was on your stream. So yeah, but yeah, he was watching me just tearing it up, blowing and going, because I get to where I'm going fast.
Yeah.
And yeah. So okay, Frank, I'm gonna let you have it for a minute. So don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Oh, I'll do everything you would do.
Well, I mentioned that we had that club event over the weekend, and I was telling Jason backstage before the thing, one of our primary goals for doing these club POTA events is to get, we got a bunch of new members, which is awesome. A lot of them are technicians, which is cool. Give them an opportunity to get on HF. It's great that 10 meters is open, but there's nothing like having full access to HF and being able to operate under essentially the privileges of an extra class license, using a club call sign, and having your mentor sitting right there and just making sure you don't
You're
get into any
completely
trouble
right.
or whatever.
The number one thing I tell people to do first in the hobby, join a club.
Yeah.
Second thing to do is go to their field day or plaque events now,
Yeah.
to get your feet wet in HF, because if you don't experience it, what it's actually like to operate HF, it just seems to be, oh, it's another thing that we can do. But if you go to POTA or with someone, a mentor that's mentoring you into this hobby, it will be it's that's where my eyes just lit up. I'm like, wait,
Mhm.
that was Japan. Oh, that guy just talked to France. And it becomes really accessible at that
Yeah.
point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we did run into that same thing. There was an awful lot of stage fright
Yeah.
that folks,
Yeah.
right when they said, okay, it's your turn to sit down in the chair, I have to go over here now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Mike Fright. The first time I've done Frank, is it the April or the July event that I've done my meetup at Ray Roberts? I can't ever remember.
April.
Is it
It's
April?
usually been
Okay.
April,
So we've
because it's
done
kind of cold the last several times that we did it, so it had to be
right.
April.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. Okay. Okay.
Say
So
that
the
again one more time. I like
first
hearing it.
time I'm bypassing that. So the first time we went out there,
I'm hung up on you guys think it's cold in April where you are.
it's Texas.
Oh.
It's Texas cold. So
It's cold
Jeez.
yesterday.
if it's below like 48 or 50, it's cold.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we get out here in July and it's like 105 degrees and people up north
Yeah.
are like, hey, the weather's
Yeah.
nice. Oh, yeah, okay.
I grew up in Wichita Falls, so
Oh, okay. So
I'm familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, you're familiar. But so I think it was 3 years ago. Would have been 2021. I did a meetup event. I just told everybody on my channel, hey, if you're in the area, come out. We're going to do POTA at a local park, Lake Ray Roberts State Park. And going to set up the Buddy Hex beam and have my FTDX10, which was brand new at the time. Just you guys come sit down and do POTA the first time if you want to. Shane, K5QBF from this side of the radio channel, he sat down with a guy who was a technician, had his technician license for a couple years, I think. So the technician guy sat down next to Shane, and Shane's like, okay, you can use my call sign. Here's how you do it. And he watched Shane do it a little bit. And he sat there and he activated the park, 10 or 15, 20 contacts, something like that. And the guy got up. He's like, okay, I got to go, guys. I appreciate y'all letting me here. I got to go do this thing that I had planned today. And then after that, I'm going to start studying for my general, because he was sold. He was completely sold on POTA. He's like, this was fun. So hats off to Shane for kind of mentoring that guy. But that's Mike.
Shane looks way better with his hat on. He would just leave the hat on, but that's okay.
That's true. Yeah. But I mean, Mike Fright's a real thing, and that's what yesterday this guy that met us down here, who was a local, he was like, I've never done this before. I'm like, doesn't matter, dude. It's fine. So
that is precisely why we added the rookie categories.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, once you get past those barriers to entry, if you want to call them that, you kind of forget about them.
Yeah.
You realize that, and I don't mean to belittle anyone's fears, but you realize that a lot of that stuff was silly, that you're going to mess up and the sun will come up tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Right. But those things are real and people worry about this stuff. And so I think it's important to have, as just part of the mentorship angle of the whole program, say, you know what, it is perfectly okay to be new at this. And that's how you get your practice, is you start.
And don't be kind of like, I got to carry that speed, because Jason and I and a lot of the other experienced activators on HF is just slamming contacts and just putting the names down and comfortable working that pile up. Because if you get a pile up and you just hear noise, what are you supposed to respond with? My best thing is, if I could pick 2 letters out, I'm calling those 2 letters out, and we're just going to work that guy. Was there a K5? And then someone comes with K5. But if you're not experienced, I can totally understand that. But sit down with an operator, and we'll show you. They will go at your pace, your pace.
Mike's got me laughing because I'm sitting here talking about novices and there's Mike Fright and whatever else. And I'm on my CW journey, as it was. I was telling Jason during this club event, I busted out the paddles and I braved it. I sent out the CQ WW3 AAA and braced for a CW pileup that I'm not ready for.
Yeah,
And
totally. Yeah.
I made it through 10 contacts, and it was okay. That's it. I'm done. I gotta go lay down. But
That's how I would
but I
do it.
did
Yeah.
it, right? But I did it,
Yeah.
and sure enough, the sun came up this morning. So
Yeah. Yep. And
kind of silly to be afraid of it.
Are you talking about you were laughing at Mike? You talk about N8YO in the chat.
Yeah.
So
Claiming he may have heard of a microphone.
Right. Yeah. Every time, and he has himself to blame for this, because every time I've worked him on POTA a couple times. Every now and then I'll be out activating a POTA, and I'll hear November 8 Yankee Oscar, and I'm like, dude, you own a microphone? What? That's great. You know how to push a button? That's awesome. Congratulations. So
I'm waiting for him to come back and send you Morse after that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I figured his paddles had just gone microphonic or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll brag on him for a minute. So when we were at the Huntsville Hamfest in 21, so 2 years ago, we all camp on the mountain there at Montesano State Park, which is a POTA spot.
What was that? OBX? I think I know where you're going. It was OBX.
No. This was Huntsville State Park. I'm sorry, Montesano State Park in Huntsville. So we're there after the it's Friday night, so it's before the Hamfest. Anyway, we had gone out and done some stuff during the day. I think we went to Gigaparts and came back, and we're sitting down, and we did this meetup thing. And he has his K2, not KX2, his K2. He has his K2 there with a paddle, and the Buddy Stick Pro was brand new at the time. And I sent Chris from Buddy Pole a picture of Mike at the time. I was like, this dude puts up a Buddy Stick Pro with his K2 and we're all sitting around talking, drinking beer and whatnot. And this guy sits down and starts calling CQ, and he works freaking New Zealand, his first contact from the Buddy Stick Pro at the park, but everybody all around him making a bunch of noise, and he's sitting there. And I'm like, I took pictures. I was like, Chris, you never guess what happened with your antenna, buddy. So yeah, so Mike's hardcore, but he's hardcore in a very good way.
Yeah, well, I'm hooked. It's going to be a struggle, and I'm going to have lots of those sweaty moments, I'm sure. But the idea that you can go out there and you can get the range, right? You can get the DX that you can get with a digital mode with this tiny little gear, but it's interactive. You're still making the QSO. It's addictive. It really is.
I'm getting to the point where, now this is going to surprise some of you. I'm getting to the point where want to try to do a lightweight pack. I want to pack lightweight and pack as small as I can and pack something and go. And I'm not going to hike up a mountain. There's mountains in Texas, but not speak of anyway. But I was with my wife earlier today. I've got an idea. I want to get on a plane and fly somewhere, activate, and fly home. So I'm probably going to be looking at doing that. But I'm just going to take a little pack to something. So, and CW is much more friendly to packing small than
right, because it's much more friendly to QRP is what it boils down to. So you can downsize the radio, and now that the upper bands have come alive, you can downsize the antenna. And I got into the how small can you make this pack thing because I decided that the most fun way to POTA was on a motorcycle. So I'm trying to pack my gear down small enough to get there on the two-wheeler and still have room for my sandwich.
That's important.
Yeah, I'm not going without the sandwich.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But
not at all.
Does it take that much extra space to get on sideband? It's just a mic, right?
It's just, well, with the exception of I'd like to know what you have to say about that, Matt. But to me, I'm thinking 100-watt radio, larger, heavier, FTDX10 is what I take to the park. You could take like an FT891 or 857 or something like that and get a little bit smaller than that. But they've got QRP CW radios that are this big.
Right. So. Yeah. You can. So I have a KX2, and it'll do either CW or sideband. I can get on sideband with it. But the difference in the efficacy of the signal, if I put out 5 watts of CW, I can work the whole planet. If I put out 5 or 10 watts of SSB, I can make contacts. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't have fun running QRP. But the difference between the 10 watts of sideband and even the 50 watts of sideband that I usually run on the 891, it's a lot more than the math would say, right? The math would tell you that it's about an S unit of difference at those two power levels. But somehow that S unit is 10x in the log.
Yes.
So go figure.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And you know, and this is gonna get me banned on a few forums here and there, but
Say it.
that's why I like FT8, because FT8 is a low noise mode, not a low power mode. It's very, very, very important distinction there. It's a low noise mode, like CW is. Of course, you have to have a computer to do FT8 of some sort. But
you mean you can't whistle the FT8 tones yet? I mean, come on.
I'm getting there. Yeah.
Didn't
I guarantee
get to run inside the radio?
No. There are some radios you can do that. Yeah. Those are usually larger radios, though. But
yeah, I can do RIDI.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You can do that.
RIDI.
But but I mean, if you want to pack small, you were talking about your QCX Mini.
Yeah, I gotta unplug it to hold it up.
Yeah,
ignore the dummy load hanging off the side of it there.
Yeah.
But right. So this, there's my hand for reference. It's tiny. It puts out 5 watts.
Right.
Has a built-in keyer, built-in decoder, and as a kit is well under $100. And you get to build a kit.
So is it QRP Labs that makes that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So that guy was at 4 Days in May last year. He has a QDX, which is that radio that does FT8, and it's a kit.
Yeah.
So I bought that. I haven't built it yet. Those of you who know my building patterns will be really surprised I haven't built that yet. But
yeah, that's cool. I love their stuff.
They make great stuff. So.
The only thing I've had 99.9% success with them. The only thing I bought this dummy load kit to go with the QDX, and the BNC connector didn't really fit on the circuit board. That's the worst thing that's ever happened to me with all the stuff I've ever gotten from them. Okay. It's been pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah. I bought that kit, and 2 or 3 other guys bought that kit. And one of the people who bought that kit last year at 4 Days in May was Adam, K6ARK. Well, he goes home and builds his because he's good at that sort of thing. And he sends us all pictures of his that's built. And I swear to you, he used a machine to build that. Those toroids are wrapped perfectly, and it really let the wind out. I'm like, mine's never going to look like that. So I lost it.
Here's the good news. Here's the good news, though. The way you tune the low pass filters so that you get your full output is essentially to sit there and move the windings around. So if it looks perfect, it's not tuned. Once it's tuned, it won't look perfect anymore. So you're not losing anything.
Oh,
interesting.
But okay,
yeah,
but yes,
good times.
All of that to talk about how learning CW. We were talking about on Frank's stream last hour. We were talking about the Extra by April effort that a lot of people are making, and I'm like, I want to get Extra. It is important to me, but I started learning CW a few months ago, and I'm slowly drudging my way through that. I need to spend more time on it. And I'm almost more interested in learning CW than I am getting Extra right now. So
I don't disagree with that, because as a mode, it kind of opens up more things for you to do. And don't get me wrong, Extra opens up more bands, more privilege and things.
Wider bands, not more bands. But yes, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. I got my Extra solely because I'm lazy. I didn't want to have to think about where the band edges are.
Yeah.
But I would say, in terms of bang for your buck, the tech and the general tests both get you a lot that you didn't have before.
Agreed.
The Extra test mostly gets you bragging rights. Really. It does not really, unless you have a burning desire to be a VE, it doesn't really get you that much that's terribly useful.
Honestly, I am a W5YI VE, and I got that years ago as a general, but I can only test technicians, though. I can't test general tech and general. I can only do tech.
Yep.
And honestly, that's most of the time, that's the people I'm talking to are people who are new
Sure.
and want to get their license. So like,
Sure.
okay. So,
But I'm going to be a VE to just help out, not
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
really passionate
Yeah.
about
No. Yeah.
VE-ness or whatever.
I'm not passionate about it, but I will absolutely do it when I get my extra. So, because
Sure.
I like to help that out too. So cool. Good. I'm not sure how we were talking about CW in relation to POTA.
Well,
so.
yeah, somehow I'm sure this was all related to making POTA QSOs
Right.
somehow or categories or something like that. We do have. I got to make sure this is right. I'm pretty sure that we have plaques for based on the modes.
Based on the
So that is a way if you're looking for other category. Well, how do I do this or do that? And again, maybe not have to compete with some of the big guns. The CW and digital modes don't have the same participation as voice. So there's a little more room there.
Yeah.
Fierce competitors in each of those categories for sure, but not
Yes.
as many of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Diplumber 420. All right, we're gonna sidestep that name for a second. I guess you guys are not answering newbie questions. Do the chat. I'm interviewing my guest here, and I'm talking to Frank. So if I missed your question, please type it again. We're not ignoring you. Feel free, everybody.
I'll go up and see if I can find it.
So, but yeah. So one thing we kind of talked about the work bands a minute ago, but I don't think we ever got to the point where on this specific weekend. So go ahead with that, Matt.
Yeah. So again, to sort of differentiate between the event and POTA proper, POTA proper can still be done even during the event weekend. If you have no interest in the event and the constraints, and you don't care about the plaques, you just want to go out and do POTA, you can still do that. And POTA is fine on the work bands because it's not a contest. We finally figured it out. POTA stations are de-expeditions. That's really how they're properly classified. You are an operator or more than one operator, and you're going to a desirable spot so that you can make a lot of contacts because you're in the desirable spot. And then people can keep track of how many desirable spots did they get and write it down or print out a piece of paper or whatever, something that looks kind of the same as a worked all states or a DXCC or something along those lines. So that's POTA proper. That's why it's fine on the work bands, because de-expeditions are fine on the work bands. And there's no start date, there's no end date, there's no winner, there's no contesty aspect when you think about it to POTA. If you tried to make the case that it was a contest, you would have the world's worst contest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The event, however, does have all those attributes. It has a start time, it has an end time. It doesn't have, they keep calling it an event instead of a contest because it doesn't have most of the overhead of a contest. There's no fixed exchange, and the hunters still don't have to log. And so there's a bunch of things that still differentiate it enough from contests that I think event is a fair characterization. But because it has that start time and end time and winners, that's enough that, it smells like a duck kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so just in the interest of being good ham radio citizens, we said, you know what, there's only 0.4% of the QSOs are made on the work bands anyway. There's a very, very low price to be paid for playing nice. So we're going to play nice. No work band QSOs will be considered for plaque totals.
Okay. Now, NAYO brings up a good question. He was asking the dates. I said June 3rd and 4th. Is it 0 Zulu June 3rd to 2359 June 4th?
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of us here in the States, that'll be sometime Friday evening.
Yeah.
Sometime Sunday afternoon or evening.
Yeah. Okay. That I assumed so, but I wanted to clarify that. So Brent has, if I understand what he's saying here, there's no special designations by plaque operators to separate them from normal POTA. So how do you know if you're going to use upload on POTA.app, how do you know who is and isn't going for the.
So all you could go out. Let's say you went out and did an activation, and you did it on 17 meters, and you were at an N for, and so you submitted it as a 3 for log. You did all of that, and it's the event weekend. What will happen is when the calculator goes through to calculate the stats for the event, it's going to ignore. Well, if you did everything on 17 meters, it's going to ignore it all.
Right.
So you're still going to get POTA credit for the QSOs and the NFR and everything else. But the thing that figures out, did you get a plaque or not, is going to go, nope, none of that counts.
Okay. Oh, so there's not a separate log to upload, a separate site or anything like that. It's all done through the same website, same app. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then on air, there really isn't any way to differentiate between an activator who is participating in the Plaque event and an operator who is not, other than obviously if the activator's on a work band, then you pretty much know.
Yeah.
But we really, 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 really are trying to stress that we don't want the Plaque event operators going out there and dreaming up some special CQ. It's just going to make a mess of everything the day the event is over. So if you're going out to activate and you're participating in the Plaque event, know the rule about NFRs, stay off the work bands, do everything else the way you've done every other activation you've ever done. Call CQ the same way, log the same way, submit it the same way. Don't change anything. And for the love of God, do not call CQ POTA contest.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed on that.
I love it. I like it how you submitting the logs. It's just the same way that we've been doing for every other log, every other activation. We don't have to do a special format for like winter field day and regular field day. Just makes it much easier. How do you line up though? If I am working with a club, we got 5 operators with the club. Do they all have to be in the same location, or can we be spread out? Or
no, the idea behind a club event is, first of all, you have to have an actual club, right? You've got to have a club call sign that has an account for the club call sign, and it's got to be issued, recognized by the FCC or the AR or whoever says yes, you're a club, something that has a trustee. You can't just grab 6 random guys and go get a special event call sign and call it a club. It's got to be a real club. And club activities in POTA for the Plaque event and normally are supposed to be actual coordinated activities. The bar for what represents that is pretty low. If you got 3 people who said, hey, we should do something under the club call sign, and they go do that, that's enough. But the idea, what we're trying to avoid is day-to-day individual club members going out and doing their activations under the club call so that the club and the operator get credit for it when it wasn't really a club event. But if you want to go separate places, that's fine. In fact, that's what my club did last year for the Plaque event. It was all coordinated. We had a spreadsheet, who's going where, who's going to work what bands. We centralized the logs so we could eliminate the dupes and submitted it as a club. But we let everybody go to whatever park they wanted to go to work the Plaque event.
do we have to distinguish ourselves in the spotting or as we're working? If we're have multiple W5 HRC operators across the area, how do we know what's who?
It is in the documentation.
What it says for you,
what it says for you to do is to append a / letter R and a numeral to the call sign when you spot your station to indicate under this club call, I am radio number 1. I am radio number 2. I am radio number 14.
Okay.
And the easy way to make sure you don't run into each other even doing that, again, you're coordinating this ahead of time. So hand out the radio numbers. We had 14 operators on the air. At no point did we have all 14 of them at once. But the 12th guy who came up to me and said, hey, I want to be part of the club Plaque event team, fine. Your /R12 every time you spot, even if you're the only one out there.
Okay.
That way it just always works and everybody knows what they're supposed to spot and we don't run into each other.
And that's just for the spotter.
Yeah. When you log,
when you log,
right.
you're just going to log as a regular call sign, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. You're going to have whatever the club call is as the station call sign, your call sign as the operator in the ADI file that you upload to POTA. Both entities will get credit and the sun will come up and we can all sing Kumbaya and it'll be great.
So, yeah. So, cool.
Follow-up question by Mike here. Can the individual within the club operator qualify for individual awards? So the operator's operating part of the club. Does he also get counts for, say, makes the most CW contacts, but he's using the club call?
It's never come up. I'd have to go look at the logic that creates the awards. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't think of any reason why an individual would be ineligible for an individual award just because they were part of a club. The reason we count club contacts the way we do is to encourage people to participate in club events without having to worry about, oh, I'm not going to get my thing if I go help out the club.
Yeah.
I don't know why the thinking would be any different for the Plaque event weekend, but I'll run that past the event committee and we'll get it clarified if it needs to be clarified, but I'd be willing to bet money on that.
There's a lot of discussion right now on the work bands. I know we covered them, but there would be no operating on, let me find it right in here. I read it a second ago, 60, 30, 17, and 12. No contacts will be counted for those bands, correct?
Correct. And Dawn in the chat is correct. 60 meters is not technically a WARC band, so we probably shouldn't use that term if we intend to be all-encompassing. Nevertheless, 60's out for the event.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 60 doesn't count for the event. Okay.
I just wanted to reiterate it because
there
was a lot of talk.
60 is out mostly because it's more like the ENFR rule than it is the WARC band theory. This is a matter of accessibility and equitability. That band is sort of there, sort of not for this person and not that person. And it's just really, it's better than it used to was, but it's not a universally accessible thing. And now that we're in 140 countries or some such thing, that sort of stuff starts to matter.
Okay. Good. Yeah, there's some Don had another question here that I was like, I had to read it like 3 times. I'm like, okay, I think I understand what he's asking.
He's
so
pretty smart.
This is deep here, in my opinion. All right. What if I work a park to park on Plaque weekend and hand out multiple parks to a Plaque chaser on a non-work band? I'm like, just go POTA. So it's good. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to click off it. It's a good question, but I don't know what is the likelihood something like that's going to happen?
If you make a park-to-park contact and you're not on a WARC band, it's going to count as a QSO for you and for them. And there isn't a category for park-to-parks. They're just QSOs so far as the event goes. They'll still count for POTA and whatever else. But in terms of Plaque categories, it sort of doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you make a park-to-park with somebody and they are on a WARC band, you're still going to get your park-to-park, but that QSO is not going to count for your Plaque event totals. Because if you can figure out a way where you're not on the WARC band and they are, and you still made a QSO, you've got some technology we hadn't planned on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to be, you both have to be on the WARC band to do that. Well, he's talking about a chase, but still, I mean, the chaser would have to be on the WARC band. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And
chasers
I
don't
see Don's
logs,
question in there.
Yeah.
Don, I would encourage you to stay on GMRS as much as possible.
He said he was asking for a friend. So
He doesn't have any friends.
Yeah.
oh,
Actually, I think
God.
I'm his friend. I agreed to do the YouTubers Hamfest with him again this year, so we're gonna cook up something good for that.
Nice. Awesome.
Well, that's not even planned yet.
No, we gotta hammer
we're-
that all out.
We're
hopefully next
we're
weekend.
getting ahead of things here, so we
Yeah.
can put together something good.
That's right. That's right. Cool. Well, any other last minute questions? We'll shut it down here in about 5 minutes. Every time we have a ham radio happy hour, or we just have like a generalized come on to the live stream and let's just talk about ham radio, we always either kind of steer towards POTA or towards barbecue sometimes. But
Or
You
POTA
can do
not
both.
barbecue.
You can have a barbecue at a park.
We've done that. Yeah.
We got to get
So,
Scott to
yeah.
come up or do it down
So-
by the beach and barbecue
Yeah.
there.
So yeah. In fact, we went ahead and rented it, and we might end up canceling it if we go somewhere else. But as of right now, we've rented RV spots at Lake Ray Roberts State Park for this weekend. So we're looking at a couple of other options, and you can cancel the reservations up to like a day or two beforehand with no penalty and whatnot. So, but right now, I mean, I'm sure there's many more times between now and the first week in June. But right now, we're looking at going to Lake Ray Roberts State Park and activating from there. And anybody who wants to come out is welcome. And anybody in the area who wants to come out is welcome to do so. So more to come on that later. But having a live stream on POTA is always fun because it is a wildly popular part of ham radio today, especially in the HF world. And a lot of people are getting their upgrades from Technician because of that. And hopefully we can even see that happen more now, because all we need to do is go out and take these technicians to the park and get them on 10 meters and show them how cool it is, because 10 meters is open right now. And
yeah, there's still a world of opportunity out there. These aren't exact numbers, but plus or minus, there's 35,000 people signed up for the POTA program. If you go look at the QSO database, there are 350,000 unique call signs in the QSO table. So we've only got 10% of the people who've already participated signed up.
Wow. Okay. So the rest of them are chasers, I guess, or hunters?
Yeah, hunters. Sure.
Okay,
Everybody who's activated has to have an account, but anybody can hunt, account or no.
Yeah.
And there was one comment that scrolled by there. I think it was AA4JW was saying, well, the Plaque rules are going to get applied to everybody's QSOs, whether you want to participate in the Plaque event or not. It's just going to go through the whole database. And that's true. If you're that guy and you really, 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 really say, I don't want to have anything to do with this event, then what you need to do is just hold your logs until the 19th. All of the logs for the event are due by the 18th. So if you can submit your log on the 19th or the 20th for however far back it was, and your logs will not get analyzed for the event.
It's a good idea.
But even if you don't do that, just submit them. You're just going to be one of the numbers. You're not going to be going for a award or anything.
Well, and we have had people turn down plaques. Not to air too much of the laundry, but I was telling Jason there were a couple of other rule changes that we bandied about, and one of them was one plaque limit. You cannot win more than one category. Now that did not make the cut. We're hoping that the removal of the NFIRS solves that problem and it just goes away on its own.
Yes.
But it's not uncommon for the person who makes the most phone QSOs to have the most total QSOs or something along those lines. So we'll see moving forward whether we need to do anything like that or not.
Interesting.
Okay. It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens this first year.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
have a
please
question
bear
for
that
you.
in mind, everybody, that this
Mhm.
is the first year of having this committee and the separate
Right.
thing, and everybody's a volunteer and they're trying real hard, so
Right.
cut us a
Right.
break if you have the option.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
have two questions for you. One, the how do you phase out parks? So if a park loses park status, do y'all have a way of doing that, or maybe that's outside your purview?
We have mapping coordinators for every region that there's a park for, and if there's an error in the park list, somebody needs to get that detail to the mapping coordinator for that region. And if it's a park that no longer qualifies as a park, what we'll do is we'll just mark it inactive. We don't delete them from the system because we don't want to invalidate QSOs that were made back when it was a park.
Good,
Mhm.
good thought.
Mhm.
And you need to tell. I think it's Jason there. I want a POTA coin.
You want a POTA coin? I told him we need to raffle them off or something. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people really want those things, and he's handing them out like Pez. I said, well, you can get some money out of this. What are you
Dude,
doing?
I missed out on he was up at Dayton, and I've been looking for him ever since. And every time I swung by your booth, he's like, y'all are like, no, Jason's not here. I'm like,
I didn't get
Yeah.
one. I didn't
I
get
know,
one.
I know.
So yeah, but
I'm willing to trade coins.
Mine's sitting right over there.
No, I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Well, Matt, thank you for your time tonight, and on behalf of everyone, thank you for the effort that all of you put into the POTA project, because it is absolutely a fantastic event.
We are having a blast.
Not the event itself, but like the whole program is just fantastic. Really great way to get people on the air, people with HOAs, people who still live at home, people who live in apartments. They can go out and they can become the DX. So there's nothing else in SOTA. Yeah, kind of a little bit kind of works that way, but their rules are a little bit more stringent, and that's okay.
Well, and accessibility, I tell everybody,
yep.
POTA obviously was born out of NPOTA, right? National Parks on the Air came to an end at the end of 2016, and that was the two problems that National Parks on the Air had. The big problem was it ended. January 1st, 2017 was its number one problem. Problem number two is national parks are great, but there's only how many of them?
Yeah.
And
correct.
So making this all accessible to folks, I think, has been the real genius behind the whole thing.
Yes, absolutely. And you guys keep adding parks to the database. So it's not
we do.
Like,
We're really focused on adding DX at this.
Yeah.
Well, DX for us, right? Everybody who lives in a country that gets added bristles at being called DX because that's where they live. So, but yeah, our focus at the moment is on bringing new countries on, and thankfully, we have had a steady stream of volunteers from folks who live in countries that are not part of the POTA system yet, have stepped up to the plate and said, yeah, I will take responsibility for maintaining the park list for whatever country we don't have yet. So that's been really, really helpful that so many people have been willing to do that, because obviously even just determining what the heck is a park when you get into some place over there. I have no idea what's a park in Thailand, right? But they have them. They have them. And fortunately, somebody who lives there and knows these things is willing to do that.
Okay, good. Okay, last question of the night, and this is a good one. K0WAV wants to know, has there ever been any activations on 630 or 2200 meters?
This guy right here, I have the first 630 meter QSO in the POTA database. Not a complete activation. I got one QSO. And I'll admit, I'll cop to it having been a sked, right? We planned this whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I built a pair of 630 meter CW based off of Kevin Laughlin, the old tech guy.
Yes.
His 630 meter rigs. I built a pair of those, and a buddy and I did the paperwork and whatever. So we're set up to operate 630 from a couple of 3 or 4 parks around here in our houses and where the club meets and a couple of other places.
What mode did you use?
CW.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. CW.
Yeah. The only time I've been on 630, we were in Costa Rica. This was back when it was a you had to register for the license in the United States, but in Costa Rica it was open. We went down there and we did some whisper contacts. So one-way whisper contact. It's the only thing I've ever done with 630. So, but
yeah,
CW's cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting band, and I already have it in the back of my mind that, well, I've got the rig sitting there, and it's literally one line of software to change it from 630 to 2200.
Oh wow, okay.
So I got to go through and rejigger all the resonant circuits in the power amp too. Yeah. But software, it's not even a whole line; it's one number you got to change.
Wow, nice. Well, once again, Matt, thank you for being on the show tonight. I think that this event is going to be. I think this event is going to be a lot of work for you guys on the back end for the 2 weeks after. So,
I volunteered to put the new logic in place to implement the new rules for the event. So when it's wrong and we give the plaque to the wrong person, that'll be all my fault.
Well, all right, we know to send them every.
That's right.
Everyone
griping. I'll send out the complaint bureau email.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, 73 to all. Thank you for joining us tonight. Once again, those of you in the South Texas area, please make time if you can to visit the Houston Hamfest next weekend. Frank and I will be there. And in fact, the four of us, Mike and Scott and Frank and I, will be on my lunchtime live stream on Wednesday to talk about the Hamfest in more detail for the following weekend. So, and I don't know, I think we might try to find a time Friday night, evening, or maybe Saturday after the show to go catch a park in that area that we haven't activated yet.
Yeah. Well, we'll announce it.
Watch Twitter. Yeah. We're gonna do something
that or do a meetup somewhere.
Right. Exactly. So 73 to all. Thanks for joining us tonight. And once again, Matt, thanks a lot for this info. It's going to be a great event. It's going to be a really fun and great event. So I'm looking forward to it.
Be fun. Sure. Anytime. Happy to do it.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, we'll catch you guys later.
Bye.